In this video, we're going to look at how you run a Ruby script or program from Windows. Now, in other videos, we looked at how you run from Mac OS X and from Linux from the command line. And essentially, there were two methods where you type in Ruby and the file name, and you got to make sure that your command prompt path is set up to know where the Ruby interpreter is. And the same is the case in Windows. If you're going to run it from the command line where you essentially type in, I think I have a directory set up here, getting the right system, I guess. There we go. Okay. Here's a little file. So if I type in Ruby hello test, it runs here. And that's because Windows knows where that Ruby interpreter is. Now, if we go and look, the interpreter, when we install it, is put into this folder right here. So it's bin. So it's c:\ruby/bin. So that's where it's sitting at right here. So as long as Windows knows where that's running from, you can type this. Now, in order to make sure that's the way it is, when you install it from like the installer that we used in other videos, this should be set up, or for some reason it's forgotten or whatever. You need to go into your system properties here and go into environmental variables and find your path and be located right here. And you can edit that, and in here is where you're going to find your different things that your command line knows about. And here we go, way at the beginning here. You got c:\ruby/bin. So that's how the command line knows where to find Ruby here. But there's another way, a similar way, where you can run it from an editor. So if we go into the editor that is installed here with it, which is this Cytee, and I'll go and open that file again. I wish they had a open recent here. It's that same file I just had, and all it does is put the string hello out there, and I've made sure that this is set up to be chosen as Ruby. So we go in here and we can just say go, and it'll dump it to command line, and then it'll give me back that output. So that's another way that you can run a script from Windows, a Ruby script. So typical workflow is that you might be running it this way, but if there's interaction involved, you might have just a command line window that you're running it from, and then you'd be editing it in this window and jumping back and forth between the two when you're just working on a script. And do be careful on Windows. There's actually, when you go into your settings on the file endings, there's actually an RBW file ending that's Ruby W, or stands for Ruby and then a W on the end. That one, if you have a script and you run it, the command line window won't open up if you just double click on it. Whereas .rb, as long as Windows knows where that Ruby interpreter is, it'll open a command line window up. So be careful with that file ending on Windows.